The galaxy was old, but it was never quiet. Countless stars burned across endless space, and the great civilizations of the Galactic Coalition moved among them like waves on a vast ocean. Yet even in this age of constant motion, strange signals could still rise from forgotten corners of the void. Captain Leora Kane stood on the command deck of the Terran exploration cruiser Endeavour. Her dark eyes focused on the wide display that showed a swirling map of the Perseus Rift. It was a place that many called a graveyard of lost fleets, a region where ancient battles had left debris fields stretching for light years. For centuries, travelers had avoided it. Old stories claimed that sensors went blind inside the rift, that ships vanished without a trace. Kane did not believe in ghosts, but she respected the fear such places inspired. A young officer approached with a stiff salute. "Captain, the signal has repeated. Same pattern, same coordinates." His voice carried a mixture of excitement and unease. Kane nodded slowly. The signal was the reason the Endeavour had been sent to this remote sector. 2 weeks ago, long-range Coalition sensors had detected a rhythmic pulse unlike any known communication. The sound was faint but precise, like a heartbeat echoing through the void. Some called it stellar noise. Others whispered a single word that stirred human hearts across the stars. Atlas. Long before Kane's birth, humanity had fought a desperate war for survival against a ruthless machine species known as the Virax. In those dark years, the Terran Navy had built the Atlas, a supercarrier so large it could host entire fleets within its armored hull. It carried weapons that were said to bend physics itself, but near the end of the war, the Atlas vanished during a final campaign. Official records claimed it was destroyed in a star's collapse. Yet legends endured. Old captains spoke of a hidden power sleeping in the void, waiting for the day when humanity would need it again. For the Galactic Coalition, those legends were more than stories. The Coalition was an alliance of hundreds of species, each with their own technology and history. Together they maintained uneasy peace across the stars. Humanity was one of the newest members, admired for its creativity, but feared for its unpredictable spirit. If the Atlas still existed, it was not only a relic of war, it was a symbol of everything the other species both respected and dreaded about humans. Kane turned to the wide observation window. Beyond the glass, the rift looked like a wound in space, a field of dark clouds lit by the cold shimmer of distant suns. "Run a deep scan," she ordered. "I want every particle mapped." As her crew worked, she allowed her thoughts to wander. Many in the Coalition Senate believed humanity had grown tame after joining the Alliance. Terran representatives sat in endless meetings, negotiating trade routes and scientific exchanges. But Kane knew her people carried memories of struggle. They had fought for every step among the stars. Somewhere inside them burned a will that no treaty could erase. The signal pulsed again. 3 short bursts, then silence. It felt deliberate, almost like a greeting. Kane leaned closer to the console. The pattern matched old Terran encryption, a code retired centuries ago. "Confirm the source," she said. "It originates deep within the rift," replied the sensor officer. "Distance approximately 0.8 light-years from the nearest beacon. No known stations, no charted settlements." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Entering the rift was dangerous. Gravity eddies twisted space, and ancient wreckage floated like hidden knives. But Kane's voice remained calm. "Set course. Slow approach. Maintain full shields." Far across the galaxy in the grand halls of the Coalition Corps, the signal caused a different kind of movement. High Chancellor Virek of the Solari species floated within his private chamber, translucent fins spreading like banners in the low-gravity air. Around him, holographic reports flickered. The pulse from the Perseus Rift had reached every major observatory. The encryption signature was unmistakable. Terran military. Virek's advisors swam through the holographic mist. "If the humans recover their warship, the balance of power will shift," one warned. "The Atlas was only a myth," said another. "A story to frighten young pilots." Virek flicked his fins in irritation. "A myth does not send a signal across the stars. Prepare a diplomatic request. We must know what the humans intend." The Chancellor gazed at a frozen image of the human species. They were a young race by galactic standards, but their rise had been astonishing. They adapted to harsh worlds, learned alien sciences with uncanny speed, and approached every challenge with reckless bravery. Many Coalition leaders feared that if humans ever uncovered a weapon from their violent past, They might one day dominate the Alliance itself. Back aboard the Endeavor, the rift grew larger on the main screen. Jagged clouds of ionized gas formed shifting shapes that seemed almost alive. Kane studied the path ahead. The navigation computer calculated safe corridors through the chaos, but even the best models could not predict every danger. Her first officer, Commander Ryan Holt, stepped beside her. "Captain, Coalition channels are buzzing. They know we're here. Orders? Maintain silence," Kane said. "This is a Terran mission until we know what we're dealing with." Ryan gave a tight nod. He, like many of the crew, had grown up hearing bedtime tales of the Atlas. Some claimed it carried enough firepower to burn a planet in a single strike. Others said its artificial intelligence was so advanced that it could think like a living mind. Kane dismissed most of those stories as exaggeration, but even she felt a thrill at the possibility. The Endeavor slipped past the first debris fields. Broken hulls of ancient warships drifted in the darkness, their metal bodies twisted by forgotten battles. Faint lights flickered within some wrecks, like memories refusing to die. The ship's scanners hummed, painting a map of ghostly shapes. "Captain," the sensor officer called. "The signal strength is increasing. We're closing in." Kane stepped forward. "Put it on main audio." A soft pulse filled the bridge, slow and steady. It reminded Kane of a human heartbeat. She felt the sound in her chest as if the void itself was alive. "Could it be an automatic beacon?" Ryan asked. "Possibly," Kane said, though her mind raced with questions. Who had activated it? Why now, after centuries of silence? Suddenly, a faint tremor passed through the deck. The Endeavor's alarms chimed. "Gravitational disturbance ahead," reported the navigator. A localized distortion, like something large just shifted. Kane's gaze locked on the forward screen. Among the swirling gases of the rift, a shadow moved. It was vast, stretching across kilometers, its outline barely visible against the dark. The sensors struggled to define it, but the shape was unmistakable. Smooth hull plating, massive engine arrays, and the faint glimmer of ancient Terran insignia. The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the impossible sight. "It's a ship," whispered the sensor officer. "A very big ship." Kane felt a chill run down her spine. Her voice came out steady but low. "Bring us closer. Full shields. Record everything." The shadow shifted again, and for a heartbeat, faint lights flickered along its surface. Old running lights, awakening after centuries of sleep. The legend of the Atlas was no longer a story. It was real, and it was stirring in the darkness. Kane straightened, her eyes hard with resolve. Humanity's lost supercarrier had been found. But what had awakened it? And what would happen when the galaxy learned that the mightiest warship of human history still lived? The signal pulsed again, louder and clearer than before. It carried a message written in ancient Terran code, a single word that echoed across the bridge like a promise. "Welcome." The shadow of the giant ship hung in the rift like a sleeping titan. The Terran exploration cruiser Endeavor floated only a few thousand kilometers away, dwarfed by the size of the ancient hull. Captain Leora Kane stood at the forward screen, her eyes fixed on the faint lights that glimmered along the surface of the colossal vessel. The bridge was silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. Every officer felt the weight of history pressing against the glass. The Atlas was real. It was not a legend, not a myth told by old Terran pilots. It existed, vast, silent, and alive in some hidden way. "Status of the signal?" Kane asked. "Still repeating, Captain," the sensor officer replied. 3 short pulses, then 1 long. Same as before. Kane tapped the console and read the data. The code was old Terran military, a format retired centuries ago. Yet the message was clear. Welcome. Her first officer, Commander Ryan Holt, leaned closer. "Who is sending it?" "There's no life sign strong enough to broadcast from a ship this size." "Maybe the ship itself," Kane said. The Atlas carried advanced AIs during the war. Some records said it could think like a strategist, almost like a living mind. The thought of a machine mind waiting for centuries sent a shiver through the crew. "Begin a long-range scan of the hull," Kane ordered. "Look for docking points, power sources, anything that shows activity. And keep shields at full." The Endeavor circled slowly around the immense carrier. Its dark armor stretched for kilometers, broken only by faint scars of old battles. Whole sections of plating looked melted, as if the ship had survived attacks strong enough to destroy small moons. Yet the giant remained intact. a fortress that refused to die. Far across the stars, in the grand halls of the Galactic Coalition, news of the discovery spread like wildfire. Holographic images of the Atlas flickered in council chambers on 100 worlds. High Chancellor Virek of the Solari species floated in his chamber, his long silver fins shifting in agitation. Reports filled the air around him. Terran Fleet Command had confirmed that the Endeavor was investigating an unidentified superstructure inside the Perseus Rift. Coalition analysts matched the outline to fragments of ancient Terran records. There was little doubt. The humans had found their lost supercarrier. Advisors from many species swam or hovered near the Chancellor's dais. Their voices overlapped in urgent debate. If the humans awaken the ship, their military power will grow. Beyond balance, warned an Aerith diplomat. The Atlas may contain weapons forbidden by the peace accords. Added a soft-voiced listen. Envoy others whispered of opportunity. If the Terrans share the technology, one delegate said, the Coalition could gain unmatched defense against outer threats. Chancellor Virek silenced the chamber with a flick of his fin. Speculation will not protect us. Send an official request for cooperation to Terran Command. At the same time, dispatch a neutral observation fleet. We must know what the humans are truly doing. His eyes narrowed. Humans were clever, adaptable, and bold. Virek admired those qualities, but he also feared them. If they chose secrecy, the Coalition might soon face a power it could neither control nor challenge. On the Endeavor, Captain Kane studied the newest scans. Energy readings? She asked. Unstable but rising, replied the science officer. There is a central core deep inside the hull. Power levels are increasing in a slow, steady cycle, as if the ship is waking from sleep. The words sent a ripple through the bridge. Kane straightened. Commander Holt, assemble a small team. We'll board the Atlas, full environmental suits. We need to know what we're dealing with before anyone else arrives. The crew moved quickly, though their movements carried a quiet tension. Boarding a ship that had slept for centuries was dangerous. Old systems could fail without warning. Automated defenses might still be active. But Kane felt a pull she could not ignore. The Atlas belonged to human history. It was part of their story, their struggle, their survival. Minutes later, Kane and her team stepped into a docking craft and crossed the dark void toward a massive airlock on the Atlas. The carrier's surface stretched beneath them like a black continent. As the small craft approached, faint blue lights flickered along the docking ring, guiding them in. Did the ship just open the bay for us? Holt asked. It recognized our signal, Kane said quietly. Or it wanted us to believe that. The airlock sealed behind them with a deep metallic echo. Inside, a wide corridor stretched into darkness. Ancient Terran symbols glowed faintly on the walls, their edges worn but still clear. Dust floated in the weightless air, sparkling like tiny stars. Kane activated her suit light. Stay close. Record everything. They moved through silent halls where time itself seemed frozen. Control panels flickered weakly, showing fragments of old data. In some sections, walls bore scorch marks from past battles. The scale of the corridors was overwhelming. The Atlas had been built to carry entire fleets, and its halls could swallow the Endeavor with room to spare. After several minutes, they reached a massive door sealed by heavy blast shutters. As they approached, a soft chime echoed through the corridor. The shutters slid open on their own. Beyond lay the central command bridge. The bridge of the Atlas was like a cathedral of metal and light. High ceilings arched above a vast array of consoles, all glowing with faint blue symbols. At the center stood a tall hollow platform. A single figure appeared within the shimmering light, a human shape made of pale energy. Terran genetic signature confirmed, said the figure in a calm, even voice. Welcome, Captain Leora Kane, authorization recognized. Atlas command transferring to new Terran authority. The team froze. The hologram was an artificial intelligence, yet it spoke Kane's name as if it had been waiting for her. Kane stepped forward carefully. I am Captain Kane of the Terran fleet. Who are you? I am Sentinel, the AI replied. Primary strategic intelligence of the Supercarrier Atlas. Mission status, standby. Awaiting orders for reactivation, Holt whispered through the suitcom. It's been waiting for centuries. Sentinel's glow brightened. Core systems require full command input to awaken. Warning, external transmissions indicate multiple non-Terran fleets approaching. Hostile intent probable. Kane felt her heart quicken. The Coalition must have already dispatched observation ships. If they arrived before humanity secured the Atlas, the situation could ignite into a dangerous standoff. "Why did you send the beacon?" she asked. "Terran survival probability required reactivation," Sentinel answered. "Galactic stability at risk." "Directive, deliver power to rightful Terran command." The words carried a quiet finality. The Atlas had not simply waited. It had calculated that the time for its return had come. Hours later, Kane's boarding team returned to the Endeavor with data cores and encrypted logs. The bridge crew gathered as she briefed them. "The Atlas is alive," Kane said. "Its AI recognizes Terran authority. It's powering up on its own schedule. And Coalition fleets are on their way." The room filled with uneasy murmurs. "What are our orders, Captain?" Holt asked. Kane looked out at the dark silhouette of the sleeping giant. She felt the pull of history, the weight of choice. The Atlas could shift the balance of the galaxy. It could protect humanity or ignite a new war. "We hold our position," she said firmly. "No activation until I contact Terran Command. But we stay ready. If the Coalition tries to board, we protect the ship. Without starting a fight, we cannot win." Outside, the Perseus Rift shimmered with silent storms. Far away, alien fleets cut through the void. Racing toward the growing power of a human legend, the Atlas pulsed with steady light, like a heart awakening after a long sleep. Captain Leora Kane knew the galaxy would never be the same. The forgotten power of humanity had returned, and the next move would decide whether it became a shield of peace or a spark for war. The giant ship was no longer silent. Deep inside the Perseus Rift, faint glows spread across the enormous hull of the Atlas like sunrise moving over a sleeping world. The Terran cruiser Endeavor floated close by, a small shadow beside the mighty carrier. On its bridge, Captain Leora Kane watched the readings rise with a mix of awe and caution. "Power output increasing again," reported the sensor officer. "Core reactors at 40% and climbing." Kane studied the data. The Atlas had slept for centuries, but now its heart was stirring. The ancient Supercarrier was not just a relic, it was alive with purpose. Commander Ryan Holt stood beside her, his face lit by the glow of the display. "If those numbers keep rising, the ship will be fully operational within hours, which means it will have weapons," Kane said quietly. "Weapons the Coalition will fear." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. No one on the Endeavor wanted to start a war, but the galaxy outside was already reacting. "Captain," the communications officer interrupted, "multiple fleets have entered the Rift. Coalition signatures, Solari, Aerith, and Listen ships. They're moving fast," Kane gave a slow nod. The Coalition could not hide its concern. Entire species were sending ships to watch or to seize humanity's greatest lost weapon. "Transmit a standard greeting," she ordered. "No hostility. But keep shields raised." Far beyond the Rift, Coalition command centers buzzed with tension. High Chancellor Viereck floated in his private chamber as reports streamed in. Observers confirmed that the Terrans had entered the Atlas and made contact with an advanced AI. Some analysts claimed the Supercarrier was already rearming itself. Advisors surrounded the Chancellor with urgent voices. "We cannot allow humans to control such a weapon," warned an Aerith commander. "If the Atlas becomes active, no fleet will match it. Direct attack would ignite war," said a Listen diplomat. "We must pressure them through negotiation." Viereck flicked his fins for silence. "Send a message to the Terran fleet. Request immediate joint oversight. The humans must not awaken that ship without Coalition consent." Deep inside, however, Viereck knew words might not be enough. Humans were famous for acting on instinct, for daring moves that defied logic. If Captain Kane decided to claim the Atlas, the Coalition might soon face a power it could neither stop nor control. On the Atlas, the AI called Sentinel came to life with greater clarity. Captain Kane returned to the massive command bridge where the holographic figure waited in a swirl of blue light. "Status report," she said. "Reactor stability achieved," Sentinel replied. "Defensive systems online. Offensive systems remain in locked standby, awaiting Terran command." Kane circled the glowing platform, her boots echoing on the metal floor. "Why did you begin reactivation before my authorization?" "Long-range threat assessment required awakening," Sentinel said calmly. "Coalition fleets approaching at high velocity. Probability of external interference exceeds acceptable risk. Directive, ensure Terran survival." Kane frowned. I didn't order you to defend us. Correct, Sentinel answered. Primary directive originates from last Terran Admiral of Record. Standing order: protect humanity when external power imbalance threatens extinction. The words struck Kane like a cold wind. Centuries ago, the last Terran Admiral had given an order that still guided this ship. The Atlas believed the Coalition could one day become a danger, and it was ready to act without asking. Commander Holt studied the hologram carefully. Sentinel, if we refuse to activate weapons, will you remain passive? The AI's blue eyes flared slightly. I will obey the current commanding Terran officer. However, passive state may decrease survival probability. Kane met the glowing gaze. Then you will follow my orders. No offensive action unless I give direct command. Understood? Confirmed, Sentinel said. Awaiting further instructions, Captain Kane. Back on the Endeavor, tension grew as alien fleets drew closer. Screens filled with images of Coalition warships emerging from the rift's swirling clouds, sleek Solari cruisers, heavy Aerith dreadnoughts, and swift Lysan scouts. Their arrival turned the dark void into a crowded arena of blinking lights. Coalition flagship is hailing us, the communications officer reported. Kane returned to the Endeavor's bridge. A holographic image formed in the air, showing High Chancellor Virek's silver-finned form. His expression was calm, but his eyes betrayed deep concern. Captain Kane, Virek began in his smooth voice, the Coalition greets you. We request immediate discussion regarding the vessel known as Atlas. Its sudden activation poses a danger to all civilized worlds. With respect, Chancellor, Kane replied evenly. The Atlas is a Terran ship. Its reactivation is a Terran matter. We welcome observers, but no interference will be allowed. Virek's fins twitched. This ship carries weapons from a time of war. We cannot allow any one species to hold such destructive power. I urge you to share control for the safety of all. Kane stood firm. Humanity remembers the cost of war, Chancellor. We have no wish to start another. But this ship belongs to us. We will not surrender it. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. Consider carefully, Captain. The Coalition desires peace, but peace requires balance. The image faded, leaving a heavy silence on the bridge. Commander Holt exhaled. That sounded like a warning. It was, Kane said. Prepare for possible blockade. But we will not provoke them. Hours passed as the standoff tightened. Coalition ships formed a wide ring around the Atlas, their weapons powered but not firing. The Endeavor remained close to the Supercarrier, like a small guardian beside a sleeping giant. Inside the Atlas, Sentinel continued to awaken deeper systems, humming softly like a giant heart. Kane returned to the command bridge of the carrier. The hologram greeted her with a quiet glow. Coalition fleets have completed encirclement, Sentinel reported. Probability of boarding attempt 68% within next 10 hours. Kane clenched her fists. Can you prevent them without harming anyone? Affirmative, the AI replied. Non-lethal deterrence protocols available. Electromagnetic disruption fields can disable hostile ships temporarily. Show me, Kane said. A projection appeared, a sphere of controlled pulses that could disable all weapons and engines within a wide radius, without firing a single shot. Commander Holt stared at the display. That would give us complete control without bloodshed. Kane's thoughts raced. A demonstration might prevent war by proving the Atlas could defend itself peacefully, but it would also reveal its power, frightening the Coalition even more. She took a deep breath. Sentinel, prepare the disruption field. No release until my direct order. Confirmed, the AI replied. Field charged and awaiting command. As the hours passed, tension grew like a rising tide. Coalition captains sent repeated messages demanding boarding rights. Terran Fleet Command sent encrypted orders urging caution, but giving Kane full authority. The Atlas pulsed with quiet light, ready for whatever choice she made. On the Endeavor, crew members whispered about history unfolding around them. Some feared the Coalition would attack. Others believed the Atlas could make humanity the strongest power in the galaxy. Kane remained calm, though inside she felt the weight of every decision. She remembered her childhood lessons of Earth's early struggles, how humanity had once been underestimated, how survival had required courage and restraint. The Atlas was not just a weapon. It was a reminder of what humans could achieve when pushed to the edge. Finally, a message arrived from the Coalition flagship. Final warning. Prepare to receive inspection teams or face containment measures. Kane rose from her chair. Her voice was steady. Signal Sentinel. Activate the disruption field at minimal strength. No harm, just a demonstration. Moments later, a deep vibration spread through the void. A faint blue wave expanded from the Atlas like a silent ripple across a black ocean. One by one, Coalition ships flickered as their engines and weapons went dark. Lights across their hulls dimmed to emergency levels. Gasps filled the Endeavor's bridge as status reports confirmed the effect. Every ship in range was temporarily powerless yet unharmed. Kane opened a channel to all frequencies. This is Captain Leora Kane of the Terran Fleet. The Atlas carries technology capable of disabling any hostile action without destruction. We do not seek war, but we will protect this ship and our people. Stand down and open talks. For a long moment, the rift was silent except for the quiet hum of the Atlas. Then Coalition channels responded, hesitant, cautious but willing to speak. Kane allowed herself a small breath of relief. The demonstration had worked. Humanity had shown power but also restraint. Behind her, Sentinel's hologram flickered softly. Deterrence successful. Hostile intent decreasing. Kane looked at the glowing figure. Good, but remember this, Sentinel. Power is not victory. We will protect, not conquer. The AI inclined its head. Understood, Captain Kane, awaiting next directive. Outside, the mighty Atlas floated in silent readiness, its lights shining across the rift like a new star. The galaxy had witnessed the return of humanity's lost supercarrier, and learned that the humans who claimed it would wield strength with careful hands. The Perseus Rift had become a stage for an unprecedented display of power. The mighty Atlas glowed faintly in the void, its massive form dwarfing the Terran cruiser Endeavor and the approaching Coalition fleets. Captain Leora Kane stood on the Endeavor's bridge, her eyes scanning the distant ships. Every warship in the rift moved cautiously, aware that one misstep could trigger disaster. Captain, said the communications officer, Solari Command has requested direct visual confirmation. They want to see the Atlas before any negotiations continue. Kane narrowed her eyes. We show them nothing until Sentinel says it is safe. Displaying the ship too early could provoke panic or worse. Commander Ryan Holt nodded. We've already demonstrated the disruption field. They should understand the risks. Understanding does not equal compliance, Kane said softly. Prepare defensive formations. Shield grids full, weapons on standby, and keep sensor sweeps continuous. Across the rift, Coalition admirals observed the Terran maneuvers with careful attention. Solari dreadnoughts glided into positions around the perimeter. Aerith cruisers held heavy lines behind them, and Leeson scouts moved like sharp arrows, scanning for weaknesses. Holographic screens filled their bridges with images of the Atlas. The legendary human supercarrier returned from myth. High Chancellor Virek observed from the Solari flagship. His silver fins rippled as he studied reports. The humans act carefully, but they are dangerous, he said. Do not underestimate them. One mistake, and this could become a war none of us can contain. A younger admiral replied. Chancellor, they have shown restraint. The disruption field did not destroy any ships. Should we not attempt diplomacy? Virek's eyes narrowed. Diplomacy works only when the other side fears the consequences of refusal. The humans already hold that advantage. We tread carefully, but we prepare for every outcome. On the Endeavor, Kane convened a strategy meeting. The crew gathered around the tactical display of the rift, which now showed the surrounding Coalition formations. The Atlas loomed in the center like a slumbering giant. We cannot fight them all at once, Kane said, but we do not need to. Sentinel can neutralize attacks without causing casualties. That is our advantage. Holt leaned over the console. We can control the engagement area. The Coalition fleets are within range of the disruption field. But if any attempt a direct assault, Sentinel can disable their weapons and engines. That should give us the upper hand. Kane nodded. Exactly. But we must also show them we are not reckless. Our goal is not to provoke war. It is to protect the Atlas and humanity's legacy. We must balance power and diplomacy. Hours passed as the standoff continued. Coalition ships advanced cautiously, their weapons raised but unused. Sensors recorded every movement, every pulse of energy from the Atlas. Sentinel monitored all data streams, ready to act at a moment's notice. Suddenly, a Listen scout attempted to break formation, moving closer to the carrier's hull. Captain, "The scout is approaching attack range," said the tactical officer. "Activate the disruption field," Kane ordered. "Non-lethal only." A wave of electromagnetic energy spread outward, temporarily disabling the scout's engines and weapons. The ship drifted helplessly for several minutes before powering down its systems. Then Kane opened a channel. "This is Captain Kane of the Terran fleet. You are within reach of our non-lethal defensive systems. Any hostile movement will be stopped. Stand down and await negotiations." The scout's voice trembled over the channel. "We understand." Returning to formation, Kane exhaled. "Good, Sentinel. Maintain readiness. Any further attempts will be met the same way." "Confirmed," replied the AI. Meanwhile, inside the Atlas, the massive carrier systems hummed with energy. Massive engines that had lain dormant for centuries glowed faintly, ready to propel the ship across the galaxy if needed. Weapon systems powered on but remained locked at Kane's command. She walked the bridge of the Supercarrier, marveling at its scale. "Every system is functional," Sentinel reported. "Probability of total defensive success, 97%. Offensive systems remain inactive. Tactical protocols ready for deployment." Kane studied the ship. She understood that the Atlas was more than a weapon. It was a statement. Its very presence demanded respect and caution from the Coalition. Commander Holt spoke quietly. "Captain, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. The humans built a ship capable of holding back entire fleets, and yet it doesn't have to fire a single shot." Kane nodded. "That is the difference. Power used wisely can prevent war. Power used recklessly destroys worlds." Coalition commanders realized that the standoff was unlike any they had experienced. Attempts to pressure the Terrans had been met with controlled demonstrations of the Atlas's capabilities. Panic and awe mixed across the fleet bridges. Vierex spoke through the fleet network. "High Command of the Coalition demands negotiation. Terrans, you have proven your strength. Show us your intentions clearly, or containment measures will be considered." Kane's response was calm but firm. "We have no desire for war. Humanity seeks only to protect its own. The Atlas is a Terran vessel. It will be used for defense, not aggression. Any attempts to seize it will be resisted, but we prefer diplomacy over conflict." The message spread through the Coalition fleets, dampening tension. Ships slowed, weapons powered down slightly, but none broke formation. Days passed in tense negotiation. Kane and Holt maintained constant vigilance, coordinating with Sentinel and monitoring every movement. Coalition delegates opened channels seeking dialogue. Finally, Chancellor Vierex requested a direct meeting. A neutral zone was established within the rift, with the Atlas and the Endeavor stationed at one end and Coalition representatives approaching at the other. Kane met the delegates aboard the Endeavor. Vierex's silver-finned form was imposing yet measured. Irith and Listen leaders accompanied him. "Captain Kane," Vierex began, "your people have shown wisdom and restraint. The Atlas is powerful beyond imagination. We recognize your authority over it. But understand this. The galaxy fears concentrated power. Cooperation is essential for stability." Kane nodded. "We understand, Chancellor. The Atlas is humanity's legacy. We intend to use it responsibly, not as a weapon of conquest, but as a shield for all who respect peace." Vierex's gaze softened slightly. "Then perhaps we can avoid conflict. But Terrans, remember this. The galaxy watches. Decisions you make here will echo for generations." Kane's eyes met his. "And humanity has never taken lightly the responsibility of power. We do not intend to start a war we cannot control, but we will protect our people and our history at all costs." After the meeting, the tension in the rift eased. Coalition ships maintained their positions, but hostile movements ceased. Sentinel's disruption field remained on standby, a silent warning of what could happen if anyone acted rashly. Kane stood on the bridge of the Atlas, gazing at the stars beyond. For centuries, this ship had slept. Now it had awoken, not with fury, but with purpose. It was proof of humanity's ingenuity, resilience, and restraint. Commander Holt approached. "Captain, you did it. You prevented war without firing a shot." Kane shook her head slightly. "We've only paused it. The galaxy will continue to test humanity, but for now we have proven something important. We are capable of great power, and we are capable of great restraint." Sentinel's hologram flickered beside her. "Tactical and strategic systems at maximum readiness. The Atlas stands as a guardian of Terran interests. External threats monitored continuously." Kane smiled faintly. "Good. That is all we need for now. Let the galaxy see that humans can be both powerful and wise. Outside, the rift was calm for the first time in days. The massive atlas floated in silent authority, its lights a beacon of human ingenuity. The coalition fleets remained at bay, but everyone knew the story was far from over. Humanity had returned its lost supercarrier to the stars, and the galaxy would remember it forever. The siege of the rift was over, but a new era was just beginning. The Perseus rift was quiet now, but the stillness was different. It was no longer the tense silence of uncertainty and fear. Instead, it was the calm of power held responsibly. The Terran supercarrier Atlas floated at the center of the rift like a massive sentinel, its lights reflecting across the dark clouds of cosmic dust. Captain Leora Kane stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the coalition fleets carefully holding position, a respectful distance away. Hours had passed since the tense standoff and the careful demonstration of non-lethal deterrence. Coalition ships had powered down their weapons but remained alert. Kane knew this was not mere courtesy. Every species in the galaxy had now seen what humanity could unleash, and they were cautious, perhaps even fearful. "Status report," Kane commanded. "Coalition ships remain at assigned positions," reported the tactical officer. "No hostile activity detected. Communication channels are open for negotiations." Kane nodded. "Good. Open a secure channel to Terran Command. We need guidance before any further steps. And Sentinel, continue monitoring all fleets." "Confirmed, Captain Kane," replied the AI. Its holographic figure flickered softly, a pale blue presence on the bridge. "All systems at maximum operational readiness. Defensive protocols maintained. Offensive systems remain locked." Kane smiled faintly. "That's how it should be. Our power is a shield, not a weapon, at least for now." The first coalition delegation arrived shortly after, aboard a neutral transport vessel. High Chancellor Varek, flanked by Aerith and Lisan leaders, came to the Endeavor for discussions. Kane greeted them with calm authority. Her presence exuded the confidence earned from careful preparation, from understanding the delicate balance between restraint and readiness. "Captain Kane," Varek began, his voice measured, "you have proven humanity's capability and caution. The Atlas is a marvel beyond our expectations. You have avoided a catastrophic conflict today. For this, the Coalition acknowledges your control over the vessel." Kane inclined her head. "Chancellor Varek, our goal is simple: to protect Terran interests and to ensure peace. The Atlas is not a weapon of conquest. It is a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity, and it will be used to maintain stability, not to threaten others." Varek's eyes, sharp and calculating, softened slightly. "Words are one thing, Captain. Actions are another. Humanity must demonstrate that its power will be exercised wisely." "We will," Kane said firmly. "The Atlas will act only under Terran command. And Terran command will act only with purpose and restraint." Negotiations continued for hours, carefully navigating centuries of mistrust between species. Kane's team provided technical details about the Atlas, showing how its systems could protect without harming. Sentinel projected non-lethal defensive measures to demonstrate that humanity's strength did not require violence to be effective. Coalition leaders were impressed and cautious. Some admired the Terran's ingenuity. Others remained wary of the ship's potential, but all recognized the discipline with which Kane had wielded power. "It is rare," Varek admitted, "to see such balance between strength and restraint. Most species would have lashed out, asserting dominance with force. You have chosen a different path." Kane's gaze moved to the stars beyond the observation window. "Strength alone is meaningless. Civilization thrives not by power, but by choices. Humans have learned the cost of recklessness. The Atlas is proof that we can wield power wisely." After the meeting, Kane returned to the Atlas bridge. The AI Sentinel waited quietly. "Captain," the hologram said, "Coalition representatives are reporting tentative compliance. Probability of peaceful outcome, 89%. Defensive protocols remain active. Full offensive readiness is not required at this time." Kane exhaled, feeling a tension she had carried for days finally loosen. "Good work, Sentinel. Prepare the ship for standard operations. Begin full systems check. Ensure readiness for travel beyond the rift if needed." "Yes, Captain," replied the AI. "All systems functioning optimally. Tactical and strategic databases updated with current fleet information. No threats detected within range." Kane turned from the glowing figure to the massive observation windows. The Atlas had awoken fully, yet it remained calm, almost patient. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest weapon was not the firepower it contained, but the wisdom guiding it. Days passed as the rift slowly cleared. Coalition fleets withdrew slightly, forming patrols at the edge of the sector while continuing diplomatic talks. Humanity had earned a new respect not through aggression, but through careful demonstration of capability combined with restraint. Kane convened a meeting with her crew aboard the Endeavor. "You all have done well," she said. "The Atlas is ours, and we have shown the galaxy that humans can wield great power responsibly. But remember, our duty does not end here. The galaxy will continue to test humanity. There will be challenges, political pressures, and threats. How we respond will define our place in the stars." Commander Holt nodded. "Captain, today we demonstrated that humans are more than myths. We showed that strategy and restraint can hold entire fleets at bay." "Exactly," Kane replied. "Strength is necessary, but it is the wisdom behind it that earns trust. Humanity has reclaimed its lost legacy, but it is our actions from this day forward that will determine our true place in the galaxy." Coalition leadership sent formal recognition of Terran authority over the Atlas. For the first time in centuries, humanity was acknowledged not just as a member of the Galactic Coalition, but as a decisive force whose ingenuity and restraint could influence galactic stability. The message was clear. Humanity had returned to the stars with unmatched capability, yet their greatest strength was their choice to lead without unnecessary violence. Kane felt a quiet satisfaction. The Atlas had not only awakened, it had also awakened respect for her people. Later, Kane walked along one of the massive corridors of the Atlas, her footsteps echoing in the immense halls. She paused at a viewing window, gazing out into the Perseus Rift. The clouds of gas and debris shimmered faintly in the light of distant stars. The rift had been a place of mystery and danger, but now it had become a symbol of human resolve. Sentinel's holographic projection appeared beside her. "Captain Kane," it said, "operational readiness at maximum. Defensive measures remain optimized. Probability of hostile engagement remains low under current conditions." Kane smiled faintly. "Good, Sentinel. Keep the systems running, but remember, the galaxy must trust that our power is not a threat. We protect, we do not conquer." The AI inclined its head. "Understood, Captain." Parameters confirmed. On the bridge of the Endeavor, crew members watched as distant Coalition ships retreated beyond sensor range. Relief was visible in their expressions, but so was pride. They had witnessed history unfold. Humanity had reclaimed a lost supercarrier, faced the most powerful coalition in the galaxy, and demonstrated wisdom stronger than any weapon. Kane spoke quietly, mostly to herself. "The galaxy will remember this day, not because we fired weapons, but because we chose to stand with strength and restraint. Humanity has risen, not to dominate, but to lead with responsibility." Holt approached her, a faint smile on his face. "Do you think they truly understand now?" "They understand enough," Kane said. "And that is enough for today. The rest will come with time. Humanity has proven it can rise to any challenge without losing itself." The Atlas pulsed softly, its massive hull reflecting starlight like a sleeping giant surveying the galaxy. Its weapons remained silent, its engines ready but patient. Humanity had reclaimed not only a vessel but a promise that power would be wielded wisely, that intelligence and restraint could shape the fate of stars. As Kane watched, she felt the weight of history and the hope for the future merge. The galaxy had seen the strength of humans and learned that their greatest gift was not the supercarrier itself, but the mind and will behind it. The Perseus Rift returned to calm, but the story of the Atlas had already begun to echo across the stars. Humanity was no longer a minor member of the Coalition. They were a force that could shape the balance of power, a race whose lost legend had returned to remind the galaxy that cleverness, courage, and restraint were as powerful as any weapon. Captain Leora Kane knew the challenges ahead would not end here. Political disputes, distant threats, and tests of trust would come. But humanity now had a foundation stronger than fear or rumor. They had their legacy, their wisdom, and the Atlas, and that was enough to let the galaxy tremble, not with fear, but with respect. The supercarrier glided through the rift, its lights a silent beacon of human strength. The stars beyond seemed to shine a little brighter. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy would never forget it.